The first thing Emily noticed wasn't the silence. It was a phone, still in her mother's hand. Screen cracked, call unsent. And for a moment, just a moment, Emily thought maybe she had arrived in time. But then she saw the blood, and everything inside her broke. The town of Ashford had always been the kind of place where people forgot to lock their doors, where neighbors waved from porches and kids rode their bikes long after sunset. Nothing bad ever really happened there, until the night Margaret Hale died. Margaret was the kind of woman everyone trusted, a retired schoolteacher, widowed, gentle, predictable, the type of person who baked cookies for the entire street, and remembered everyone's birthday. So when she didn't show up for Sunday morning service, people noticed. When she didn't answer her phone, they worried. And when her daughter Emily drove over that afternoon and found the front door slightly open, that's when the nightmare began. The police arrived within minutes. Detective Aaron Cole stood quietly in the doorway, scanning the scene. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no overturned furniture, just Margaret lying on the floor, one clean wound, precise, personal. Whoever had done this, Margaret had let them in. At first, the investigation felt simple, too simple. They questioned neighbors, friends, church members. Everyone said the same thing. She didn't have enemies. She trusted everyone. She was too kind for something like this. But Detective Cole had worked long enough to know something important. Kind people don't get killed randomly. Not like this. This wasn't a burglary. Nothing was missing. This wasn't rage. There was no struggle. This was controlled, planned, and whoever did it had been close. Emily couldn't stop replaying that final image. Her mother on the floor, phone in hand, trying to call someone, trying to reach out. But who? The police pulled the call logs. There was one unsent number dialed at the time of death. Just one. And when they traced it, it led to someone no one expected. Daniel Reeves. Daniel was everything you'd want in a neighbor. Polite, helpful, quiet. He lived just 2 houses down from Margaret. He mowed her lawn sometimes, fixed her leaking sink, carried groceries when she needed help. If Margaret trusted anyone, it was Daniel. When Detective Cole brought him in for questioning, Daniel didn't seem nervous. He didn't stutter. He didn't hesitate. "I was home that night," he said calmly. "Watched TV. Went to bed early." His voice was steady, measured, too perfect. "Did Margaret call you?" Cole asked. Daniel blinked, just once, then shook his head. No, Cole watched him closely, waiting for something, anything, to crack. But Daniel just sat there, calm as ever. There was no evidence tying him to the scene. No fingerprints. No DNA. No witnesses. Nothing, except that call. An unsent call that could mean anything. Or nothing. Days turned into weeks. The case began to stall. The town grew restless. People started locking their doors, looking at each other differently. Because if someone like Margaret could be killed by someone she trusted, then no one was safe. Emily refused to let it go. She started digging into her mother's life. Old letters, emails, conversations, anything. And that's when she found it. A journal, hidden beneath a stack of old photo albums. At first, it was just pages of normal things. Daily thoughts, grocery lists, memories. But then, the tone changed. Daniel came by again today. He insists on helping, even when I say I'm fine. I don't want to seem ungrateful, but something feels off. Emily's hands trembled as she read. He watches too closely, stays too long. I think he knows more about me than he should. I tried to avoid him today. He seemed upset. I may have hurt his feelings. I hope I'm wrong about him. The final entry was dated 2 days before her death. I'm starting to feel afraid. I don't know why. Maybe I'm imagining things. But if something happens, I hope someone looks closer. Emily felt the air leave her lungs. Her mother had known, or at least suspected. She brought the journal to Detective Cole, and for the first time, the case shifted. They brought Daniel in again. This time, the tone was different. "You've been visiting Margaret a lot," Cole said. Daniel nodded. "She needed help." She was afraid of you. That made him pause. Just for a second. But it was enough. I think you're misinterpreting things, Daniel replied, forcing a small smile. But Cole saw it now. The crack. Still, suspicion wasn't proof. They needed something more. Something solid. And that's when they found it. A neighbor security camera. Old, grainy, overlooking the street. At first glance, it showed nothing unusual. Cars passing, lights turning on and off. But then, at exactly 9:41 p.m., a figure walking toward Margaret's house. Tall, calm, familiar. Daniel. And then at 9:47 p.m., the same figure leaving. No rush, no panic, just walking away. It wasn't definitive, but it was enough to bring him in again. This time, he wasn't as calm. Why were you there that night? Cole asked. Daniel exhaled slowly. I told you, I wasn't. We have footage. Silence. Daniel's jaw tightened, and for a moment, it looked like he might still deny it, until he smiled. It wasn't the kind of smile you'd expect. It wasn't nervous. It wasn't forced. It was relieved. She wasn't supposed to call anyone, he said quietly. And just like that, the mask fell. Daniel had spent years building trust, helping neighbors, being kind, becoming invisible, because the truth was he had done this before, not in Ashford, but in other towns, other lives, other victims. Always the same pattern. Gain trust, wait, then strike. Clean, quiet, untraceable, and move on. Margaret had been different. She noticed. She started pulling away. And Daniel couldn't allow that, because once someone sees the truth, they become a problem. So you killed her? Cole asked. Daniel nodded slowly. She invited me in, like always. His voice was cold now, detached. We talked. She seemed nervous. I knew she was catching on. He looked down at his hands. I couldn't risk it. But you made one mistake, Cole said. Daniel's eyes flickered, just slightly. The phone, Cole continued. She tried to call you. Daniel froze. In all your planning, all your precision, you didn't expect her to reach for it. She chose you, Cole said quietly. In her final moments, she called you. Daniel's composure shattered, not in anger, not in fear, but in something deeper, something almost human. I didn't think she'd be fast enough, he whispered. That was it, the one mistake, the thing he hadn't accounted for, the single thread that unraveled everything. At trial, the entire town watched. They saw the man they trusted for who he really was, not a helper, not a neighbor, but a predator hiding in plain sight. Emily sat in the front row every day, listening, remembering, holding on to the image of her mother, not as she was found, but as she lived. Kind, warm, strong. When the verdict was read guilty, there was no applause, no relief, just silence, because some wounds don't close with justice. But as Daniel was led away in handcuffs, he turned once, just once, and his eyes met Emily's. For a second, it almost looked like he wanted to say something, to explain, to justify, to be understood. But Emily didn't look away. She didn't blink, and she didn't forgive, because some people don't deserve understanding, only truth. And the truth was simple. He fooled everyone, for years, for miles, for lives, until one small mistake exposed a monster hiding behind the mask. And in the end, it wasn't the police, or the evidence, or even the investigation. It was a dying woman's final instinct, a single, trembling attempt to call for help that brought a killer to justice.